If you will consent to burden your soul with a vow that you should never make and a knowledge you should never dream about, I will promise you in return...
You will promise me in return...
I will promise you a very entertaining evening.
Your offer is far too idiotic to be declined. Permit me here and now to promise as a good comrade and a fellow artist that I will not report any of this, whatever it is, to the police.
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Kate. You're like, ooh.
One of these things is not like the other one.
Well, he recently, who'd you guys go see for him?
Hey, Troy.
Welcome to Abandoned Albums, the documentary podcast. Each week, your intrepid hosts, Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun, talk to artists about albums that may have been overlooked or forgotten. Keith and Jeff dig deep into the record crates to unearth the albums you may not even know existed. They also shine a light on and chat with up-and-coming artists whose work we here at Thunderlove Studio have on repeat.
Since we're all strangers to each other, let's get acquainted with a drink, shall we?
She's on her way, but she never stays too long. When she arrives, she spends her nights in search of more. And all the times she's made that familiar drive, she knows where she's going.
Being a musician in New Jersey has got to be a tough road. On one hand, you have one of the most revered artists in music history, and on the other hand, you have Jon Bon Jovi. Their combined album sales and streams are too many to count. Eating, breathing, and gigging around those giants and hidden in the cracks and on the back roads are loads of artists who stand on their shoulders and in their shadows. Above the Moon is one of those bands. They are Kate Griffin on guitar and vocals, Shawn Murphy on lead guitar, Kyle Griffin on bass, and John Gramuglia on drums. Formed in 2016, they immediately began creating the music they wanted to hear. By incorporating influences like singer-songwriter fare to traditional rock, with some shoegaze and pop thrown in for good measure. Above the Moon has carved out a distinctive sound that is authentically them. After a string of EPs, the band has released their first full-length album, Mine Again. Kate and Shawn stopped by Thunderlove Studio to talk about the new album. Stories were told and laughs were had. Pull up a chair. Here is their conversation with Keith and Jeff.
Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you. How's it going, Keith?
I'm good. By way of introduction, I mentioned on the most recent episode that Jeff was away on assignment, and his assignment was taking care of his new puppy.
Oh no!
What kind of puppy?
He is half Labrador Retriever, half Border Collie, and 100% the handsomest boy in the world.
Oh yeah, of course, obviously.
Wait a second.
Rufus gets second place in this contest. Sorry, Keith.
Oh, how old is the puppy?
He is 4 months old today.
Ooh.
So still in that, like, his body is disproportionately sized to his paws. Like, you see his paws, and you're like, that's going to be a big dog.
Oh, yeah.
But the body hasn't fully grown into it, so it's still, like, really clumsy and adorable.
Oh, that's the best.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's awesome.
Marmaduke, no! Oops. The dog park is like high school for dogs. You've got your jocks and your cheerleaders.
Frisbee!
Your drama geeks, bang, bang, and your bullies, the pedigrees.
Check out those ears. Can you fly with those things or what?
You think my ears are too big?
Those things are huge.
You guys, Above the Moon, who were some of your influences?
It's kind of across the board with the four of us all together. For me personally, I'm big into like the singer-songwriter. So Katie Tunstall is one of my biggest influences, both her lyricism and her musicianship. She's just like super entertaining. She's wonderful. Ben Folds. So very much into the singer-songwriter, but then also my favorite band ever is Bayside from New York. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. Emo punk.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Bayside Queens, but not.
That's where they're from. Yeah.
That's an interesting influence to cite because it's Above the Moon seems to me like one of those bands that I don't think a casual listener would label you as a punk band.
I agree. Yeah.
Agreed.
But if you listen to the whole record, there are moments where you go, these somebody in this band has a pretty strong affinity for punk rock.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think all of us do to a degree.
I was just going to say, I think all of us maybe to a small degree.
Yeah.
But it sneaks in there. It gets
yeah,
in
for
there.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm like a 90s, rock kind of guy. So I started in that vein with, the Nirvanas and everything. And I kind of started looking at how they were influenced. And then I started kind of going backwards. So my influences kind of come from like the Pixies, Bob Mould, Husker Du, that kind of stuff. And then like newer bands like Bully is a big one right now. And they're on Sub Pop and they're pretty awesome. We've seen them a bunch.
A bunch of times.
The Best from New Zealand are really great. So like those kinds of bands too. So, and then our drummer, John, is like
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Kate. You're like, ooh.
One of these things is not like the other one.
Well, he recently, who'd you guys go see for his bachelor party?
Oh gosh, who did we see?
It was Killswitch Engage and Lamb of God.
Lamb of God.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a metal show. It was it was intense.
I don't hear Lamb of God influence in your music.
No.
Every now and then he'll bring out a double kick. Every now and then you'll hear it be like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, especially live. He'll throw it in there.
Yeah.
So
but it all kind of works, he likes, but he also, likes the singer-songwriter stuff as well to a degree too. So it's, it's kind of a mixed bag, but I think it works.
It does.
It does.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys are in New Jersey. Are you all from New Jersey?
We are. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I apologize in advance for any questions or offense.
It's all right.
We're from New Jersey. It's fine. We've heard it. Whatever it is, we've had it. Yeah.
How did you meet? How did you guys come together?
We met on the internet, as you do, I guess. Kate had a Craigslist ad out, or I had a Craigslist ad out as well for like looking for a bass. I started as a bassist in this band, and Kate reached out. I was getting a lot of like AC/DC bands, cover bands, and which are great. I love AC, but I don't want to play that for 3 hours a night. And so I was looking for something a little different. And Kate reached out, sent me a couple songs. I was like, these sound great. And then it happened to be, she lived literally in the same town as me.
Yeah.
And like, I wouldn't even hit a traffic light going to her place, which was bizarre.
Yeah.
And so, so we met up. She had a guitarist at the time. And I had the connection to John, our drummer.
Yeah.
We worked at a agency. We all work 9 to 5. And he always was top of mind for me because he's just a great drummer, but he never wanted a cover band thing. He wanted like an original. So as soon as this came up, I was like, he's the guy. And then eventually our guitarist left and we had a new bassist. He left during the pandemic, unfortunately. And Kate's brother came along.
Yeah. So now my brother's playing bass for us.
Yeah. Which is,
and it's been working out. It's been working out fine.
Yeah. It's been really good.
Yeah.
I get the real basic stuff out of the way quick so Jeff can dive into the meaty stuff.
All good.
Sure.
Above the Moon. Now, as I was doing my research, I ran across a band called Above the Sun. I'm like, oh, that's a tour.
Yeah,
I think they're from New York too.
We were just talking at practice the other day. There was also a band, I think we played with them, and they were called Below the Sun. And it was just a weird.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other.
Nope.
It just happened, and then like we never heard from them again. Like
No.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, come on. That had to have made for a killer concert flyer.
It was weird. It was real weird.
Yeah, it was very odd that you see two bands like that. But yeah.
What is the significance of the name Above the Moon? Help us understand that.
You might help us. We don't really know. When we recorded our first EP, we have a song called Moon. It's not on the first EP. It's on the second one. But it was one of my oldest songs. So it's one of the first songs we played together, and we really liked it. And so when we finished recording the first EP, we had to pick a band name. Like we didn't have one. And I think we all recognized that we liked Moon, and then we were throwing out phrases. And I can't remember who threw that one out.
I don't know how it happened. I think we're like, yeah.
I have a picture of somebody at the ATM.
True.
I immediately thought tramp stamp.
Right.
Oh.
Wow. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I feel like the moon, pushing and pulling on you. I'm going through phases and stages. I'm always changing, but you've changed too. I'm just like the moon, far off but watching you. I can't get away, can't escape it. These waves keep chasing, but I can't move. I wax and I wane, but the distance is the same. I thought I was stronger the longer this all rolls on. I find that I might break.
You know what I hear in your music, and I'll be very curious to hear if this is an influence, knowing that, the moment you said Bayside, I was like, oh, there's a chance. There's a chance. I think that as a vocalist, you bear a real strong resemblance to Corinna Denicky from the absolutely fabulous band Dance Hall Crashers.
Ooh.
Haven't gotten that one yet.
No.
That's interesting. I could see that.
To the extent that I went back and listened to the Dance Hall Crashers record, I was like, yeah, there's something to that for sure. And if you haven't listened, and they were in that that wave of, we're not sure if we want to be a ska band or a punk band, like when No Doubt was kind of the rage.
Yeah,
for sure.
So half of their music falls firmly in the ska category, but when they do the rock and roll stuff, I think you can draw some strong parallels to Above the Moon.
I can see that.
Well, thank you. That's but we haven't gotten that one.
No.
Before
we've gotten the Cranberries a lot.
We get the Cranberries a lot. And personally, I don't hear it at all. I mean, never offended by that, but I just don't hear it.
Yeah, if somebody says you sing like Dolores, you take it and run.
Yeah, please. Thank you. But
thank you very much.
Yes.
Exactly. But Cranberries' Letters to Cleo came up recently.
Letters to Cleo for sure.
So kind of in that vein, kind of.
Yeah, which I'm all for.
You ever heard Cub?
No.
They Might Be Giants covered their song New York City. So if you know,
I know that
New
song.
York City by They Might Be Giants, that's actually a Cub cover.
Really?
They were like a mid-90s punk band, and they're terrific too.
Oh, cool. Nice.
it's so funny that you show such restraint in your songwriting that you don't fall over the cliff. And because I think it would be easy to be like, oh, well, you know, we're going to be a punk band. There's more going on in the music than just that. I mean, you can also hear like the mid 90s alternative influences kind of vibing together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think some of the earlier songs, I think were very, a little more edgy, quote unquote.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a little more punky, you know, kind of leaned into like some of the Paramore stuff. Because Kate was coming from a band that was basically a punk band, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just strong, like strictly punk.
Yeah. Right before you guys, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like
it was kind of like shaking that off a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
When we started.
Yeah. We didn't really know who we were. So like we went into the studio within like 2 months of like,
it was like right away.
We're like, we have 4 or 5 songs. Let's go record them as a demo. And then we released it and kept going. But those, I think those couple of songs, maybe like we did a bunch of EPs at the time. I think the first 2 EPs kind of have some elements of that punk, for sure. And then I think eventually we started kind of exploring what else we could do. And I think that's where like a lot of Kate's singer-songwriter stuff has come in to play.
I agree.
From what I can read, it sounds like the full length was entirely self-produced, that you guys engineered and produced and took everything on yourselves. Tell us about that process.
Yeah.
I mean, so during the pandemic, so we, you know, I think as a lot of people did, they figured out what they like to do and they had a lot of time on their hands. And I had a lot of time on my hands, I guess. And started thinking like, what could we do in a creative manner? So we started with, of course, we released our 3rd EP at the time, right when everything shut down.
Yeah, that April.
It was
Great
April.
Timing.
Yeah, we had a big release show ready to go and like all these shows lined up with all these bands, and everything went to a halt. So after that, we kind of weren't sure what to do. So we started, reaching out to fans and seeing if they would like to do, submit a cover for us to do. And we record it here in my studio. And it gave me an opportunity to start like exploring how to do this with like, I had like a little 2-track thing, and then eventually got a 4 tracks with Logic. And then now it's expanded to 10, might expand to 12. We'll see what happens. But like, we started just looking at that, and we released an acoustic EP because we're like, we can record stuff ourselves acoustically, like one-on-one. People just kind of came in and out and shuffled through. And it kind of sparked what we were like, well, there's no way we could do an LP like in a real studio. Because we were working with Joe Reinhardt of Hopalong for a while in Philadelphia. So we were going to Philly all the time, which was awesome, but it's expensive. Yeah. So we were like, if we want to release these 12 songs that we finally built up over 2 years, how can we do it? And, we did a couple, and everyone was like, we like this. This sounds good. So we just kept going. And I spent many, many nights, remixing and trying new plugins and re-recording stuff. And I think we got to a point where we finally could release it. So yeah, but it's pretty exciting to be able to do that now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems a common theme that bands during the lockdown did covers.
Yeah. I have to tell you, there was a band called Rookie out of Chicago that did the exact same thing that you were doing. You could contact them.
Oh, cool.
And I actually got them to do a cover of the Replacements' Skyway.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we did what song? We did a couple songs. We got a couple like Taylor Swift covers.
We're like, well,
someone paid for it.
Song.
We did a Hanson song. We did Boxcar. We did
Boxcar Racer. Stuff that we would have never chosen for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like a fun challenge.
Yeah. I think the biggest one that we did was the Breeders. We did. Which was a lot of fun. Like I'm a Breeders fan.
Cannonball.
I don't think
which song?
Yeah, we did Cannonball. But that one went really well too. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like, we just kept kind of doing it, which was fun. So it was a good way to experiment with video editing skills. Kate took all the video editing.
Yeah, we did our own videos too.
So we did a video, and it took way more than whatever people paid, but it was a fun activity to like keep us going, since we all couldn't technically, be in the room together. So sometimes we did when things kind of died down, but it was a good way to keep engaged, keep creative, and keep things going. So
it seems like breaking even is the new profitable in band life.
1,000%.
Exactly.
1,000%.
Yes.
You're lucky if you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but doing it ourselves, I mean, bought some microphones, bought some, some gear, but it's still pretty, and now it's sustainable, right? Like now we have it. We can release a single tomorrow if we wanted to record it.
It's like dangerous now.
Yeah.
Now it's like, this sounds great. Let's record it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Owning the means of production is enabling, and it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely went crazy a little bit, and I'd send, mixes to these guys, and they're like, we can't hear the difference.
Yeah.
Like, but there's a different plugin on this. I promise.
Right.
It's like, we did that. We consulted with a couple different people. We had someone actually master it who does mastering. So that was helpful to kind of get that stamp of approval. She's like, this sounds great. Like maybe, she gave us some mixing advice and did her thing. So it was really kind of nice to be able to bounce that off someone too.
Yeah.
For those of us that are neophytes in recording, I know enough to know there's recording, mixing, and mastering.
Mm-hmm.
And since you guys are newish, you're certainly more knowledgeable than I am, and probably Jeff is as well. But can you walk us through, for those of us that don't know, what those steps entail?
Sure. So when we started recording, we did we had about 10, maybe 6 or 7 songs from the album that we were like, we want to record these. So we first took a step of recording all together in one room. So setting up all the mics, getting levels one day, and then coming in the next day and just kind of hacking through everything that we did a couple times. And then from there, we picked the best takes, and then, which actually only ended up being 2 of the songs on the album.
Yeah.
But that was our first attempt to let's see how much we can capture in one room first, and then build it from there. So typically you'll do that, or another approach is Kate will lay down a scratch track of guitar to a click, with maybe a guide vocal, and then John, our drummer, will come in and he'll lay down his part, and then I'll lay down my part, or bass would come in, do their part, Kyle will do his thing, and then I'll sit here and add layers, I'll add keyboards, we'll do vocals last, and kind of build the song from there. So that's kind of the recording stage. Mixing, it's mostly me sitting here going crazy, with levels and stuff. But so that's kind of the next phase of basically just leveling everything, panning certain stuff. So some stuff's in the left speaker, some stuff's in the right speaker. So everything's not gobbled together down the middle. So that's kind of when you hear a lot of times Kate's guitar is on the left, my guitar is on the right. Bass is down the middle, drums are kind of panned, a little bit, and then the vocals. And then we add a lot of vocal tracks. Kate does a great job at it sounds like a choir if you just turn everything else off. It's beautiful. But so then we'll do a bunch of vocal takes. Kate and I'll just be here. And after we add all that and I mix those, and you got to pan those as well. Then it's mastering. So mastering just kind of, make sure everything's sounding consistent throughout, because everything was recorded over about a year. So there's definitely some differences. So she was able to, Elaine Rasnick was in Philadelphia, did the mastering, and she was able to level everything and make sure it sounded appropriate. So when you go to Spotify, you don't listen to one song by, it was professionally mastered, and then listen to ours and the volume be so much lower. So she kind of helps to bring that up. And and that's kind of the final stage.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that help? Does that make sense?
It does. I think a lot of people would like to know. I think everyone just sort of thinks, some people might think you just go into a recording studio, record. They might know enough to you record separate tracks, and then that's where it ends.
Yeah.
I found that there are a lot of musicians that listen to the podcast. And I think one of the recurring themes, hi Rufus, one of the recurring themes is, it used to be that you paid, exorbitant fees by the hour to rent these wonderful studios
Yeah.
because they had hardware that was really important to making you sound good, compressors and, effects and things like that. Where now you end up, on a website like Plug-in Alliance, and you end up with like a LA2A compressor that costs, tens of thousands of dollars for the actual hardware. And I can get it for $30 and make my vocal compressed and perfect and sound amazing.
Yep.
So a lot of that tech that used to be cost prohibitive and you maybe had to rent to get access to is now available in software for very, very reasonable prices. And yeah, I think it's enabled a totally different type of band production experience.
I agree. I totally agree. I think, when we were going to Philly, which was awesome experience, like the Headroom is a great place to record if you got the money and you can do it. And we loved it. But I was really more interested, after we recorded, I was sitting mostly at the control room, like at the desk with Joe to kind of see what he was doing too, because he does this, for a living. So it's really interesting to watch him and see what plugins he was using. So I follow him on Instagram, and if he mentions a plugin, I'll check it out. And a lot of them you get free trials, so you can do a trial for not, for 15 days or whatever, 2 weeks or whatever it is, and see if you like it. And if it doesn't work for you, then you don't have to buy it. So it's kind of nice to have that option. But I think he introduced me to a lot of those things too, which is pretty cool. And also like the miking techniques, like I would go back to Kate shot a lot of videos of us in the studio. So I would go back and like look at how the mics are placed on the drums. And YouTube has so many tutorials, which is amazing. So try this mic technique. And that was a lot of the retakes that we did. Cause I was like, ooh, I learned this one thing, or I got this new mic. Let's try this. And John, our drummer, God bless him, he would come and he's like, yeah, let's try it again. Yeah. Even though he had a perfect take already, and, it wasn't him, it was me. So it was, well,
I was going to say it was a lot of trial and error, but lucky for us, you're into it and you wanted to learn it. And I mean, Shawn would be on forums with people regularly going back and forth about, what if I put it over here? What if I try this mic instead? And then, like he said, we'd have John redo stuff. I'd come in and redo stuff, and we would all agree it sounds better. So it took a while, but
I think now we're in a place where it's like, I know what plugins I want to go to. And at a certain point, like a compressor's a compressor to me, like at a certain point, like they do slightly different things. So you could really go and get really into the minutia of like, oh, well, this one sounds a little different. And I've gone down that rabbit hole, and it's not pretty. You just keep going. And,
it's some of us are still going.
Yes. I mean, whereas, where it's very convenient from a, cost standpoint, whereas you buy a piece of hardware that's thousands of dollars now, right? I think it also, you have to know when to stop.
Yeah.
I'm never living in the moment, save for the moments when I feel like shit. I know that this won't last forever, but when I get this way, it feels like it. When things are looking up, I look down. I've been told to lighten up, but I don't know how. If I hear one more time that life is short, enjoy it now.
I like a Marshall.
Okay.
I like a Marshall cranked to 11.
Yeah.
I like a really, really dirty sound. I'm into bands like Hum and Failure. And
very cool.
I want the orange cabinet with the big muff in front of it. And those can be very difficult to tame in a studio environment. The aux takes any kind of concern about top end and feedback, and it really purifies the sound.
That's cool.
Look into it.
I'm going to look into it. I know
it's a cool piece of gear.
It looks very cool. I know. I've been going down the amp path, a very small, like smaller amplifier, so we could play them. I mean, I have a 6-year-old who is like right above the studio. So trying to like record stuff at night, is difficult.
Oh,
So,
friend. Oh,
yeah.
friend. This episode brought to you by Universal Audio.
Here we go.
Yeah.
No, but it's crazy to me. Like, so my favorite record from last year was a record from a band around your neck of the woods called Daisy, D-A-Z-Y.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know them.
When learning about it, he said, I doubled my production budget for this record. I bought a new microphone.
Wow.
He recorded the whole thing himself in his bedroom with a microphone. And it's
That's
one of the
amazing.
best sounding records of the year. The availability to, I'm going to call it bedroom producers.
Mm-hmm.
People are making great sounding albums.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, there's a lot you can do. I mean, look at like Billie Eilish, right? I mean, they did all that in the bedroom the first couple of records. It's like, it's not my thing, but I was like from a production standpoint, I was totally into it. Like I was like Googling him and like seeing what he used. And
as a non-musician, I would like to be in Sunset Sound with all those tracks and all the cocaine and all the, that sounds a lot more fun than hanging out in my bedroom.
Well, different vibe.
Let's talk budget.
I don't know what your bedroom's like, but no.
Cocaine? We started that. You're welcome. I like to sit in the bathroom and talk to a complete asshole stranger for 7 hours on end. Is that possible, please? That was the worst part about the coke, man, was being in that bathroom with that stranger at the end of the night, wasn't it, huh? Talking about shit like solving the world's problems, and the only reason you're in this is because he has the coke. That should have been a fucking sign, don't you think? I mean, if Hitler had coke, there'd be Jews in the bathroom going, I know you didn't do it. I like your mustache. Fucking Himmler.
You said that there's kind of a softening from the EPs to the full length. Is that something that you see? Is that an evolution that you're going to continue to go that direction?
I don't know. I think the softening, I guess that's what we'll call it. The softening. It kind of happened.
Sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah.
The softening.
Yeah. I think it kind of happened because I think almost all of these songs were written starting March 2020. Like it started there, and then up until maybe 8 months ago, right? The most recent one. So I think it's just being in a different headspace. Everyone was going through all these terrible, weird things, and I think that's just kind of the mood of it. But we're already starting to write some new stuff, and we're kind of going a little bit more aggressive again. I think it just kind of depends on what's lyrically, at least for me, it's just whatever's happening in my life at the moment. So I can't really say it's necessarily a trend. But I will say in general, all of these have kind of a mood or a vibe that's maybe a little bit more somber or maybe more mature might be a better way to put it.
Yeah, I think
indeed.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think the new ones that we have are definitely, a couple of them are definitely more edgy. And it might be just because we're in the same room together a lot more and we can feed off each other. Like John, our drummer, he's great and he has a lot of energy and it kind of like helps to shape things. Like one song, for example, on this record, I would say Mine Again, which it's a little bit more mellow.
I remember a time when being on a line meant standing still, and you could unwind with a curious mind. You didn't have to fill with every minute's news flash.
that groove that him and Kyle like kind of put on top, it totally changed it from like a singer-songwriter acoustic kind of thing to
God.
like something totally different that we never
if
did.
you listen to like the scratch demo of that and then what is on the record, it's like two completely different songs.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, and I think it's because they were, all of us in the same room make something different.
Yeah.
So I think now that we're kind of writing together a little bit more, like, things kind of happen a little more organically, and it's so maybe we're getting back to that harder sound.
Does any of that have to do with your brother being in the band now?
No, I was actually thinking how you were describing the vibe. If I had to describe my brother, he's got more of like a blues background. He like actually took lessons and like knows how to play his instrument as opposed to me. So he'll come in with these fills and they're good, but I mean it's just a different vibe. He's not really, I think the most aggressive band he likes is Foo Fighters.
Order! 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 Order!
It seems like we get good stories when we ask about the sequencing of a record and how you choose the order of the songs. Good Old Friend makes a really strong first impression. Why did that song get chosen as the lead off?
Well, we Frank Bridges, right?
Yeah,
Is that his
Bridges,
name?
yeah.
So we have I guess a friend now, Frank Bridges, who's in a band Saint-Tropez.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we say it.
Yes,
Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez.
We actually played with them recently and we're going to in August. But he worked for Rutgers. He had a show, Overnight Sensations, and he would have live bands, and we played a couple times, I think at least twice.
Yeah, we played twice there.
With EPs, and our singles were like track 3 or track 4. And I remember the last time we saw him there, he was like, "Why do you guys bury the single?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Are we doing that?"
Yeah.
So when we decided the orders, the track listing for this, we were like, Frank said we should put it first. So that was like our single. That's the one we wanted people to hear first. So we put it first.
Yeah.
But I think it's also the most fun for us to play. Ironically enough, we play it last, usually in our set, because it's like a big burst of energy and we're done. But we actually just played a show with Frank and right after we finished that song, I said, I was like, "Thanks, Frank. Like, you're the reason why it's the first on the thing."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a whole, that's definitely was an influence, because we're like, we do that. We just bury. We think everyone's, because I mean, especially in this day of streaming, and you could see, when you look at numbers and whatnot, you can see people pick and choose, right? And so if someone's going to start listening to the album, we want to make sure that song's heard, because sometimes you can see it trickles off towards the end. That's just how it happens. Some people don't listen to albums. I love albums. I love listening to something front to back. My wife yells at me all the time because she likes to like cherry pick and go through. I'm like, no, they picked this order for a reason.
It's a journey.
So it's a journey. For me, I thought it was like really important to pick the first song, the last song, and maybe like a tent pole kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But Kate had this demo that was just this little snippet that I always had like on my computer, or I played on my phone. I'm like, this song's great. And so we use that demo almost as like a little tag at the end, because it's like a short, like 1 minute song. But I always thought it was so beautiful the way she had it. We added a little bit to it, like we re-recorded the guitar and some other things, but most of it's the demo. So like I thought those 2 points were really good. And then the tent pole in the middle, I think some of those songs are kind of in between the soft stuff that we did and some of the heavier stuff. So I thought that, those kind of worked, and everything kind of fell in between. But I think some of the highlights on this one for me were like the first 4, which is, Good Old Friend, Anything, and Mine Again.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones really always stood out to me when we were writing them. I feel like those are like the ones where it's like, ooh, this is one that we, if we had to shorten it to an EP, these would be the 4 or 5. Like these would be the ones that definitely we wouldn't throw away. And then we have others that we like as well, but you always have, you kind of pick you kind of can feel it in the room too. I think ones that we like really gravitate towards.
For sure.
So that's kind of how we did it. I think some of it is, besides Good Old Friend being in the beginning, I think a lot of it falls in like how our set is typically live too.
Yeah. And we were just putting a set together for a show we have coming up, and I'm very much into like the flow of it. Like if you're starting out fast, I like to follow up with a mellow one pretty soon, and then we got to bring the energy up again. So when we were going through the track listing, that I was kind of like, where are we? Because you don't want to flat line in the middle. Like you never want to do that. So I think that had a lot to do with it too.
When you're doing that, Kate, do you allow yourself, and Shawn, really, do you allow yourself the room for improvisation? In other words, you have a set list, and what if, Kate, you get to fire up your fire to sing, I don't know, a Cranberries tune? Can you just throw it out to the guys and be like, no, we're doing this now?
Me, never.
Okay.
No. I can't personally. I have to be rehearsed ad nauseum if we're going to play. I think we're getting a little bit more relaxed, and what we try to do is like, I'm just like a nervous performer in general, and I like as little dead air as possible. I also don't like talking to the crowd very much. So we'll work it. Like I'll tell the guys like, I'm going to say something here, but it's going to be very short. Or they'll know like Shawn will have an interlude, an instrumental interlude if I have to get a capo or something.
Right.
So personally, no, but we plan for those things. Like if we want to cover, like we kind of take everyone's opinion to put the set together. But I am not at all, oh my God, I can't.
No,
it makes me nervous just thinking about it.
I feel like Kyle could like, jam and like go off. And he could be like, we'll be like, we're gonna play this song. We haven't played it in 6 months. He'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's fine. Like sometimes in rehearsal, I'll be like, let's play this one. We haven't played this in a while. Let's see what it sounds like.
And he's like, did I ever learn this song? We're like, I don't know. And then we play it and he's like, boop, he knows it. I'm like, okay.
And he's got like 95%. How did you do that?
Yeah.
Like he could do it. Like him and John, I feel like could like totally do it. I'm kind of in between where I like to be a little more well rehearsed. I have like a bunch of pedals that have to be turned on and off, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So so I try to I'm like Kate, I'm like trying to plan myself out.
I think we've all seen bands where it seems like it's improvisational.
But I agree.
The reality is it's pretty well. The only one that comes to mind that's truly improvisational was the Elvis Costello performance from Saturday Night Live.
Fun fact, one of the 5 musical artists to ever be banned from SNL.
Fun fact indeed.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Television shows, I don't know what industry are so strictly timed.
Yes.
Oh.
So they had timed everything to the song that he was scheduled to play. And there was also some undertones of him not getting played on American radio. So I forget what they were playing. And then they started playing radio.
Calling Mr. Oswald with the swastika tattoo. There's a vacancy waiting. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. There's no reason to do this song here. Radio. 1, 2. Shining the light, not dial, doing anything my radio would buy.
I was in a band, like 2 bands before this one, and it was the first band where I was like the singer, and I wasn't supposed to be. We were supposed to get a replacement, but whatever. And I remember going to see Thursday with that band, and I'm not a big Thursday fan, but the guys were, and I don't even know his name. The singer is doing this like crazy, like the mic was like spinning, and it was huge. It was like feet, of course, spinning. And I remember saying to Alex, my bass player at the time, like, I can't, like, how amazing to just be able to do that, the energy. And he was like, that guy practices that. He does that probably at rehearsal. He does that every show. Like, this is orchestrated. And I was like, oh my God. And I think that's, to your point, some people will, they have that energy and it's great for a live show. But I do think a lot of that is rehearsed, or to the very, at least they do it every night. So it's become kind of a practice for them, so they get more comfortable seeming like they're improvising or off the cuff, Yeah.
Keith, how much of that question is born from recently watching that Replacements documentary and hearing that they would just tank it mid set list and be like, just play a cover?
Yeah, those guys. Yeah.
I've known that story for years. It's folklore, but yeah.
I have to check that documentary out. But yeah, I heard. I mean, I think just mostly because I was always like, you're like Husker Du replacements, right? That's kind of how it like went down, right?
Oh, we're gonna one up you.
Well, I can't wait to hear this one. But yeah, I have to check that documentary out.
It's very good. I'm a huge Replacements fan, which leads to your point, the question that Jeff and I go down with them. So many different artists. It's the Replacements and the Pixies, and this is an honest truth of so many people that we've interviewed. Those two bands come up the most.
Wow.
Never synonymously. So it's always like one artist might be a huge Replacements fan and another artist might be a huge Pixies fan, but nobody has ever. They've always said, I've brought it up, and they're like, oh, I like the Replacements too, or I like the Pixies too, but there seems to be a sort of division.
I am 100% Team Pixies.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, I'm definitely Team Pixies with Jeff, I think. Yeah.
Kate, don't.
I would say Replacements. I would. And we saw the Pixies.
We saw Pixies,
together.
Yeah, we saw them.
Yeah. They're one of the bands where I recognize why they're important. I don't know. It just doesn't, I never think like, let me play some Pixies. Like it never happens.
I was like 12, 13 when I found the Pixies, but it was mostly because it was like I was obsessed with Nirvana, as most 12 and 13-year-olds were at the time. And Kurt Cobain would talk about the Pixies and Dave Grohl would talk about the Pixies. I'm like, well, I got to learn who the Pixies are. So I would like listen to Surfer Rosa over and over and over until it like clicked. I was like, this is like, it seems like it's off the cuff. Speaking of things that feel like they're off the cuff, some of their shows, I mean, they are literally, I think Frank Black has like 3 songs and he'll be like, okay. And he has a mic on the side. If you ever see, it's by the drums. And he goes over and he tells everyone what the next song is. They don't have a set list typically.
Oh my God.
Really? Yeah, you would freak out.
Oh my God.
And like he goes over to the mic and you'll see, and it's only in their in-ears and they all hear what the next like 3 songs or 2 songs are if they're going to go back to back, and they just play. It's like,
wow.
That's like your nightmare.
Oh my God, I can never.
Yeah.
Maybe if I was doing it as long as them, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're also one of the best rehearsed bands in the world.
Oh my
God. They are, for sure. And I feel like it always feels, I think it's always interesting because it always feels like the guitarist is like going off the tracks, but he's always on. Like, it's like, there's stuff that's happening and it feels random, but it's not. And I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. So that's kind of where I came from. I mean, I think their last couple albums are great too. Like I really like. I
do too.
I was like, I don't. Kim Deal is great, and I love that era. But I'm like, I kind of really love this, and I kind of love what she's doing with the Breeders. So I'm like, this is okay with me. It's like I get
best of both.
I get almost like 2 Pixies albums like all the time. Every couple of years. It's great. So.
It's interesting, Keith. We've had Ronnie Barnett from the Muffs on the show a couple times now. And Kim's birthday was yesterday, and it was brought up by several people that were posting and celebrating her life that how easy to forget she spent some time as the replacement to Kim playing bass in the Pixies. And it didn't work out. And I think it didn't work out because Frank has an expectation. Hey, you're going to have 50 to 60 songs that you are ready to recall at any given moment. Yeah. We're going to be well rehearsed on the whole catalog. And Kim doesn't seem like she's the type that would be organized enough to rehearse 60 songs and hold that all in her head.
Yeah, the Muffs are great. I mean, they're one of those bands too that I feel like people, kind of a little bit forget about, but they had such hooks. It's a great one. But yeah, she was in the pick. I was so excited for that. I was like, oh my God, one of the bands I loved. Like I felt like I found the Muffs and they're playing, she's playing the Pixies. Like, this is amazing, but too bad it didn't work out. But yeah.
I want to go back real quickly to Stay Awake. And
cool.
One particular song. Well, there's 2. I love Birthday. I think Birthday is just a phenomenal
song. Thanks.
The one that I'm going to ask you about is Garden in Your Mouth.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Brave of you can see you in the dark.
Tell us a little bit about the origins of that, because I saw that title and I was like, all right, where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, kind of weird. All right. So when I wrote that song, I was, I don't even think I'm following her, but I somehow on Instagram ended up on like this like influencer sort of celebrity. And I don't know how, but I ended up in her comments, which is just like the most toxic, horrible place to ever be. and some girl who said something not nice, like, oh, you think you're so great, whatever. And her response was like, hey, everyone, so-and-so's obviously not feeling great. Let's show her some love. And there were hundreds of comments calling this nasty girl beautiful. And like, I hope your day gets better. And I'm sorry you felt like you had to do this. And it was just like this love bomb on this person who didn't deserve it. And I remember thinking like, what a beautiful way to handle that situation, because this girl was not being nice. And so then the idea of a garden in your mouth, like if you're going to spew something nasty, let's attack someone with the most beautiful stuff ever and just overwhelm them so they can't really be mean anymore. I don't know. The visual came to me and then the lyrics kind of came together, but it's kind of like, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't. Or try the opposite. Say something you do like. You don't have to point out what you don't like. Maybe say, hey, this is kind of cool, you know?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, I learned that too. I didn't know that.
Kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness, you know? If you have to say something nice about something else. I don't know.
Groovy.
You can see that I'm going to try to practice this. I'm mulling it over in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily practice it.
They say rock and roll is the devil's music. Well, let's say that it is. I got news for you. Let's say that rock and roll is the devil's music, and we know it for a fact to be absolutely, unequivocally true. Boy, at least he fucking jams. Okay, did you hear that correctly? If it's a choice between eternal hell and good tunes or eternal heaven and new kids on the fucking block, I'm going to be surfing on the lake of fire, rocking out. High-fiving Satan every time I pass him on the fucking shore.
Tell us a little bit about your creative process.
Sure. I mean, so Kate has this bank of songs, I feel like, that she's working on, doesn't show anyone. I don't know. That's in my head. That's how I imagine it. But typically Kate will have like a riff or something. She'll send it to me. We'll go back and forth, maybe add some comments, and then eventually we'll bring it to the band, or we don't sometimes. And, and then we'll all work on it together and add our own parts. And, so I think Kate is really the main one that kind of drives a lot of that, brings it in. And I think it just totally changes when you put everyone in the same room and we all kind of add our own flavors to it, all our influences and whatnot. So I think that's how a lot of it starts, or I'll come up with a riff and I'll send it to her. And maybe that'll spark something. So, and then we'll work on it from there. But that's mostly how it happens. And
yeah,
I feel like we know within, a couple times of playing it, if it's like a keeper. There's a couple songs where we've tried so many times.
Yeah.
There's one song called Giants that
I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, we can make it work.
We're always like, we can make this one work.
This is like a 3-year-old song at this point.
If you look at my hard drive, there are so many versions that we have demoed. Some good, some not great. And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's okay. And I think we've gotten better at knowing like when to stop. So I think we're getting better at that.
And kind of to the point of what we were talking about in terms of being well rehearsed and stuff, something we also do, which might be super nerdy, I don't know if other bands do this, but we will send out an agenda for practice. So we'll say like...
You're lucky I edit, because I'll probably edit that out.
Okay.
I don't know. The project manager in me loves that.
Well, part of it is, I mean, we're all, my brother's the youngest at 28, so we're all kind of older, and it takes me half an hour to get to practice, and I know I'm going to be here for 2 hours, and to get here and just kind of stare at each other is a waste of everyone's time. So we'll say like, hey, we have the show kind of coming up, so we're going to run this set. We're going to see if we can get further on this song. We have some band business to talk about. And then if anyone has ideas, we can throw them out. So it's not like super strict, but we go to practice knowing like, okay, we're going to try Giants again. Like we're going to try it again and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And, but I think that kind of helps in terms of keeping the machine going because we don't have a lot of time where it's like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. You know?
Yeah. We're not jammy.
One of the things that we try to do on our show is celebrate music and lift up music that maybe people have not heard of. What is an album that the two of you think maybe is abandoned or hasn't been given enough love that you would like to recommend to the listeners?
Ooh.
I know. Do you know? I was just thinking about this the other day, actually.
I mean, I have a lot.
I don't know if
Just one.
Just one. I'll
One
narrow it down.
album.
Let me just go through. Let me just see. Yeah. Okay. I got one.
A band that I discovered when I was young was called the Katies.
Oh my God. I've played with the Katies. I've opened for them. I love them.
I love them. And I think
Power Kiss is one of the best songs ever recorded.
Power Kiss is so good. And I think that album is just self-titled, right? Is it just the Katies?
The Katies. Fist bump, dude. Awesome.
That album is one that I will forget about. I listened to it so much as a teenager, and then years will go by, and then I'll be like, oh, I wonder if the Katies put out anything new. And I just go back to that album. And it's a tab open on my laptop at home. I found a Katie's t-shirt on eBay and I was like, I'm going to buy that t-shirt.
No way. Can I tell you, they're some of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. Another band from Murfreesboro.
Oh, there you go.
Murph keeps giving. The gift that keeps on giving.
I had no idea.
That's a great recommendation. Awesome.
Nice.
Oh, nailed it.
Cool.
Nailed it. Not that she's setting the benchmark for you, Shawn, but
sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty high.
One, I don't know. So there's a lot of bands in the 90s that I feel like never got a shot. But one of them, they had like a minor hit, but a band called Tripping Daisy. They put an album out called Jesus Hits Like the Atom Bomb.
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't think it sold many copies at all. And I think they got booted off their label like 2 weeks later. You know, and it's just, there's so many things. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but like, there's just a lot in there. He went on to make the Polyphonic Spree, which is, this orchestral thing. So this record is kind of like a precursor with like five guys in a studio that just seem like they're throwing stuff at the wall. And it all, there's like a lot of really beautiful stuff in there. And then there's a lot of really odd stuff.
Both excellent recommendations.
Thank
Keith,
you.
you don't get to pick one because you do it every week.
I want to hear Keith's.
Yeah,
I got
hear
one.
Keith's.
I got one. It's one that no one, I would be surprised if anyone knows it. I'm letting the suspense build up. And it's somebody I'm trying to get, actually. It's one album. They released one album. It was 1986. I got just a couple of years on you guys. It's a band called David and David. Both are singer-songwriters. They had a minor FM hit with Welcome to the Boomtown. They went on to be part of that Tuesday Night Music Club with Sheryl Crow, which was an actual club.
Yeah.
They got together every Tuesday and jammed.
Yep.
I believe David Bearwald one of them wrote a couple of songs with Sheryl for that record because Sheryl and I are tight. We're on a first name basis.
Nice.
Right.
And, if you've ever read Bukowski or any sort of LA themed writer or even LA themed filmmaker, that is exactly what they sound like.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's really good. And I've been trying to track down one of them, and they're very hard. They're very hard.
But
Really?
I feel like putting it into an episode, putting it out there into the ether, maybe a listener will be like, I know a guy who knows a guy whose uncle worked at Baskin Robbins.
Well, if I did it, Jeff, I showed you mine.
What's Jeff's? Gotta know this one now.
Oh man.
You drew first blood.
I did, but see, like that's my whole catalog is abandoned albums. I'm gonna stick by Kate on this one and stay in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and talk about another band that I played with a couple times that I don't think ever got the love they deserved. A band called The Features.
Ooh, The Features.
Absolutely. It's like Sponge Bath Records was this weird sweet spot for about 5 years where they signed the Katies and Self and The Features and I think Glossary was on that label for a while. They had 6 or 7 releases in a row that just seemed magic. They everything they touched was gold for a while, and the features were one of those bands that, like, if you like the Polyphonic Spree, if you like the Katies, go back and check out that early stuff from the features, because
nice.
and bringing it all back to abandoned albums. You know, we did that really fun episode with Matt Mahaffey.
It's awesome. It was a great one too.
Matt Mahaffey recorded a like sort of buried treasure Katie's album that just got released. It was recorded like 15, 20 years ago. They just released it. That sounds killer. And there's also a Matt Mahaffey features album that just got brought out from the vault. So
really?
If you're listening to this and you kind of, if you like any of those artists, seek that stuff out, man, because it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some good stuff in Tennessee. I mean, you have Super Drags over in Knoxville, which is another great, you know, they have some good abandoned albums, I feel like, too. But that self Matt Mahaffey episode was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really cool. Because I was listening to them and following a lot of the Sponge Bath stuff back then when they got signed. I was like, what is this record label? What is this guy doing?
I will connect your band to one more through abandoned albums, and that is the moment you said we did a Breeders cover during the lockdown. I thought, you know who else did a really great Breeders cover during the lockdown was The Pauses. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to Tyranny Tough and The Pauses. They cite Self and Matt Mahaffey as a big influence. I would bet you a 20 spot that you love it.
I'll check it out.
Full circle.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love that he recorded all that stuff and like he does it all himself. I was like, wait, this is one guy? I was like, that just blew my mind when I learned that at the time. So so when you had him on, I started going down the rabbit hole. He has like a good he has a video on YouTube where someone goes through his studio and like they talk about stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's doing, like, I mean, because I knew he was still active, but as a producer and in other areas. But it's so cool to see that there's other aspects of that you can make a living writing music and recording music outside of being in the spotlight.
We are at time, so I'm going to ask you, what are you guys doing now? What's next for Above the Moon?
Well, we're playing a bunch of summer shows. Trying to get this album to as many people as possible. And like we were saying before, I think we kind of opened a can of worms now that we know how to record our own stuff. We've already got 1 or 2 songs brand new going. Yeah. And I think the goal for all of us has just been do this as long as possible, you know? So I think it's just as long as we're feeling motivated and created, keep recording. We might not do a whole full length because it took so long, but to release more singles and EPs and just constantly be getting stuff out there now that we know how to do it. I mean, that's my personal goal. I think that's in general, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, we're not touring. We can't, you know, we all have jobs, we have kids, we have family, we have responsibilities. Yeah. So it's, you know, so that's out of the question kind of, but to play as much as we can and play with different bands, I think right now is kind of the main goal. We have a limited amount of vinyl that we're trying to sell, and we got some new t-shirts recently. So getting it out there and playing with like some friends bands, and we have a pretty active scene in like Asbury Park and out in New Hope, Pennsylvania. We're playing some shows there. So like it's, so I think that's the main goal. But yeah, like Kate said, just writing more. I think we'll have some downtime after the summer to get back into writing mode a little bit and keep that going. So yeah, just keep going as much as we can because it's fun. When it stops being fun, I think then we all know it's like, this feels like a chore. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
Cool. I can't thank you enough for reaching out.
Well, thank you for doing this. I feel like you're doing God's work, bringing some of these albums that I love, like to the limelight, and introducing me to new ones. So I was like, he might like a record. I don't know. I didn't know if you'd want us as a guest, but I was like, this is great. So thank you so much, Keith and Jeff. Appreciate it.
I'm going to let Keith press end on the recording, and then I'll share the sordid details.
Yeah, I want to say thank you formally, and goodbye. And I wish you guys the best of luck. I really love it, and I hope you guys will come Connecticut way. We're not that far away.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not at all.
So thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Many thanks to Kate and Shawn for stopping by. If you live in the New Jersey area, be sure to check them out live. Also, take a look in the show notes section to find links to the Above the Moon website and to their Bandcamp page. You'll also find links to some of the bands you heard mentioned in tonight's episode.
Our theme song is Rocket Sled by Blip. Abandoned Albums was recorded at Thunder Love Studios.
Written and produced by Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun.
Engineered and mixed by Steve Beasley with the help of Mike Hunt. Edited by AJ Royce.
You heard the following songs during tonight's episode, all the times. Moon, a cover of the Breeders' song, Cannonball, Anything, Mine Again, Good Old Friend, and Garden in Your Mouth. You can stream all of Above the Moon's music wherever you stream your favorite music. Also, be sure to check out their Bandcamp page.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
If you like what you've heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating. It really does help. Thanks for listening.
At Twitter, we are at Abandon Albums, and on Instagram, we are at Abandon_albums.
Grazie. Bailey Leaf. Rob Janicki. Mike Pellegrino. Therina Vella. Ronnie Barnett. S.W. Loudon. Michael Janicki. Peyton Janicki. And our executive producer,
Rufus Thunderlove.
Abandoned Albums receives funding from the Vandelay Latex Group. Latex, the way it should be.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.